Hey, this is Mr. Young, and I'm going to walk you through some DNA profile probability examples. So on that worksheet that you've got, let's go through a couple of these examples. Number one, a single STR with the same number of repeats. What is the probability that two African American individuals chosen at random would both have 12 repeats and 12 STR repeats and 12 STR repeats on both of their chromosomes at the TPOX region? Okay, so how do we do this? We get out our reference tables and we make sure we're looking at, oh yeah, okay, we know we're going to have to use the probability formula p squared. Why? Because we've got the same number of repeats. It says that right in the problem. Or we've got 12 repeats and 12 repeats. That's the same number, so we use the p squared formula. Okay, so now let's make sure we're looking at the African American individual data chart, okay, in your reference tables. And then we're going to be looking at the region TPOX, so we're going to be looking in this column. And then we go down here to the 12 repeats in the allele column. And that brings us where we're in the TPOX region column at row 12. So our p-value is 0.027675. So we plug it into the formula, we get the probability, or p squared, is that number squared. We do the math in your calculator, you get 0.000766. What do you do with that? You take 1 divided by that probability, and what does that give you? That gives you 1,305.5. Round that off to the nearest whole number, and the answer is there's a 1 in 1,306 chance that two African American individuals who are chosen at random would both have 12 repeats and 12 repeats at the TPOX region. Let's try a different one. Here's a single STR with a different number of repeats. Okay, different number of repeats means that these two individuals have 8 repeats on one chromosome and 9 repeats on their other chromosome. So what are the probability that two Caucasian individuals chosen at random would have 8 and 9 at the TPOX region? So we make sure we're on the Caucasian individual data chart, and then we go to the region is going to be TPOX, so everything's going to be in that column. Then we look for the P and Q value from 8 repeats and from 9 repeats. These give us in here our P value and our Q value. The formula is going to be 2PQ. That's the formula we use when there are a different number of repeats, not the P squared formula. So we just plug those numbers in. 2 times 0.5470 times 0.1238. That gives us 0.1354. 1 divided by that probability gives us our final answer. That comes out to 7.4. So we would say there's a 1 in 7 chance that two Caucasian individuals chosen at random would have 8 repeats and 9 repeats on their 2 chromosomes at the TPOX region. Now let's try one that has 2 STRs, or looking at 2 different regions. Okay, so this is a Caucasian individual, and at region FGA, they've got 2 of the same number of repeats, and at region VWA, they've got 2 different numbers of repeats. And so to do this, we're going to have to use both formulas and then multiply the results. What are the odds that another Caucasian individual chosen at random would match both loci? To get the probability for both matching, we'll do both these separate problems, and then we'll multiply the results together to get the final probability. Okay, so we're going to use the FGA column and the VWA column, and things get a little too small for me to fit everything on the screen, but you're going to be finding your P and Q numbers underneath this column and underneath this column. Okay, so for the 1818, that's in the FGA column. The number you're going to get for the P squared formula is 0.0297. Square that gives you 0.008821. 1 divided by that probability gives you 1,134. Okay, now for the other probability, where we've got 2 different numbers of repeats, we use the 2PQ formula. Okay, that's what we use for when the repeats are different. So we get those numbers out of the VWA region. So those numbers came from this column here on the data chart. 2 times the p-value that we got for 13 and times the q value that we got from the 15, both coming from this column. That gives us 0.001139. 1 divided by that probability gives us 878. We're almost done. What we do is we take those 2 numbers, multiply them together, and it will be a 1 in 995,652 chance that another Caucasian individual chosen at random would match both loci with this particular individual. And remember, as we look at more and more STRs, the chances grow greater and greater and greater of a random match happening, and that means your DNA evidence grows stronger and stronger and stronger, that it would be a unique match to your evidence. Okay, thanks for watching, and try the rest of the worksheet and then check the key.